Hi, I'm Greg Campbell with Fortus Pilates. Today I'm going to show you how to assemble one of our Aluminum Elite studio reformers. So I've got a new reformer right here. As you'll see, it comes almost fully assembled. There's really not much to do here. We're really going to be doing things like attaching the shoulder rests and the rear posts. It's a pretty straightforward process. The first thing you're going to want to do, because you've probably moved your machine, if you're like me, you had to move it down some stairs, and you tipped it on its side, and so the springs have a tendency to get jostled when you do that. So if we look on this reformer, we'll see all the springs are pushed over here. And so all we want to do is move each spring into its correct position. That's the first thing that we want to take care of. And so that's a pretty straightforward process. I can just take a look here and make sure that each of the springs goes in its proper compartment. And then once I'm done, if I look down the machine, I'll be able to see that all of the springs are straight and none of the springs are crossed. And that's really what I want to make sure of. I want to make sure that none of the springs are crossed. Now let's add the shoulder rests and the shoulder rest posts. So this is pretty straightforward again. So if you take one of the shoulder rests, what you'll see is that for each of the shoulder rests on the mounts, which are on the frame here, there are two holes. And likewise, if you look at the shoulder rest itself, you'll see the post that you're going to insert into one of those holes. It's not centered, it's actually a little bit off center. So what that does is it gives you a few options in terms of how wide your shoulders are. You can have the shoulder rests a little bit further apart, or you can have them a little bit closer together. You have four options there that you can play around with. So you'll find the right position that it works for you. And then to insert the posts, all you have to do is essentially just give them a little twist as you push down. You'll feel when it engages. Once it engages, you won't be able to twist the shoulder rest anymore. Okay, so I'll do the same thing on the other side. I'll take the shoulder rest, I'll make sure it's in the same sort of position as the first one. I'll push it down and I'll get it locked in. And so then I just have to do the posts, and the posts are just threaded and they just screw into the hole that's directly behind the shoulder rest. So that's a pretty straightforward process. So I'll just get those screwed in. There we go. And you can just hand snug them. You don't need to over tighten them. You just get them hand snug and that'll be fine. In order to connect the rear posts to the reformer, you're going to need two parts. First thing is the rear post itself, and the second thing is the threaded attachment knob for the rear post. So what you'll see is each of the rear posts has three holes in it, and these are threaded holes that are made to accept this knob. What that does is it gives you essentially three different heights at which you can set your rear post. And so what I do, I usually like it at the taller setting, so I'm going to go for this lowest hole. The easiest way to do this is to just insert the post into the rear post hole. Make sure that the pulley is facing the front, because this is what the ropes are going to feed through, so it needs to be facing the front of the reformer. And then I usually just peek through the hole here in the frame, and I can see when the hole is lined up. And then I can take my knob, and I just have to insert it and gently start threading it. Now what I want to be careful of, when I start turning it, you'll see how easily that turns and how easy it is for me to hand snug it. And I don't want to over torque it. You can strip it, so nice and hand snug is good. But if when you start inserting, and let me do it on the other side here. Okay, so I'll do the same thing. I'll put it in. I'll look for the hole to line up. There it is. I'll go ahead and insert it. And let's say I start threading this knob and it starts feeling stiff as I'm threading it. I'm going to stop. Okay, and the reason I'm going to stop is it is possible to cross thread these, to have basically have it go in a little bit crooked, right? And if you do that, you will damage the threads. This is a really tough and thick steel, these posts. You'll see they're quite heavy, but it is possible to strip out these threads, okay? So always take care when you're doing this. It should thread without really any resistance at all. Once it's properly seated, and you might have to jiggle a little bit, once it's properly seated, you'll see I can basically just turn that with my finger and it'll tighten up, okay? And then I just give it a little hand snug. Okay, so other than watching for cross-threading, that's all there is to taking the rear posts and getting them installed on the reformer. So now it's time to attach our straps and ropes. So they come as separate pieces. So you're going to get 2 of these ropes and you're going to get 2 of these double loop straps. So the first thing you're going to want to do is connect the strap to the rope. They are removable. It makes it easy for you to take them off and wash them or whatever you'd like to do. So what you'll see is that one end of the rope has a loop, and then obviously on the end of the strap there's a loop. And so all you need to do is essentially insert the strap loop through the loop for the rope. Okay, so you're kind of making a T. And then once you've done that, just fold it over, the strap over, and insert the strap through the loop. Okay, and then you pull that tight. You get it worked around first, and then you pull it tight. There we go. Okay, so you should wind up with that. And so let's do that again for the other rope as well. We'll get that one connected. So I'll grab my rope. I'll get the end that has the loop on it. I'll grab my other strap. I'll insert the strap through the rope. I'll double it over and feed it through. And then I'll feed it all the way down, and then I'll pull it tight. Okay, so I've got my strap is now connected to my rope. So now all we have to do in terms of connecting the rope and strap assembly to the reformer, usually the way I adjust it is I'll just hook the strap onto the shoulder rest, and then I'll take the other end of the rope, which does not have a loop, it's just an end of the rope. I insert it through the pulley, and it doesn't matter which way this pulley spins, so you don't have to worry about it being the right direction. Pull that tight, and then what I want to do is insert the rope through the metal clip that is here. That part is really important. If you leave it over top, okay, and I just sort of push it into the cleats and then pull it tight, what'll happen when somebody goes to use this and they pull, it'll come out, okay? The point of this metal clip here, that's what's going to hold that rope securely into the cleats. Okay, so I'll put my strap back onto the shoulder rest. I'll grab my rope again. I'll do it properly this time. So I insert it through the metal retaining pin, and then I just insert it through the hole on the other side, which is just where the excess rope goes. And then when I pull that tight, what I'll see is it'll actually lock itself into these cleats. Okay, and usually I just pull it so it's snug. So once I've done that, now if somebody pulls on the rope, it's not going to come out of those cleats. It's going to stay locked, and that's what I'm looking for, right? So I'll do the same thing on the other side. I've got my strap attached to my rope already. So I'll just hook that onto the shoulder rest, and then I'll take the other end of the rope right here. I'll insert that through the pulley. I'll bring that all the way through. I'll insert it through the metal retaining pin there, and then I'll put it through the hole at the bottom, and I'll just pull it until it is tight. Okay, and then so there you're all set. You've got your ropes attached. Usually what I would do then is I would drop the straps just onto the posts, and then they're not bothering you when you're using the reformer, but they're there and they're accessible. So that's it, a straightforward process. You've got your ropes attached now, and that really is it. The last thing you might want to do, and actually I'll show you that as well, is adjust the stoppers at the front of the carriage. So when you receive your reformer, you'll see that it already has the carriage stoppers inserted, and they'll just be inserted into one of the positions. You'll see on this particular reformer, there are 5 different positions where you can put the carriage stopper. And what that'll do is it'll adjust how far forward the carriage is able to go before it docks. So if you're a really tall person, or you're inflexible, or you're doing an exercise where you want your starting position to be fairly extended, you could move the carriage stoppers all the way to this position, right? And that's obviously going to stop the carriage a lot further than if we adjust it to the inside position. And I'll just take off my straps here so they don't stop the carriage, right? Where the carriage can come all the way in before it docks. So, I mean, there's not much to adjusting these carriage stoppers. As you can see, they just get inserted in and out. The only thing you want to make sure of is when you, well, 2 things really. The first thing is when you insert them, make sure that they go in all the way. So this is only clicked in part of the way, right? So you can see it's still kind of sitting out there. I don't want that. I want to push it in until it is flush and secure with the carriage. And then the second thing is, so I have this in position 2, right? I want to make sure on the other side I put my carriage stopper in position 2 as well, so that when the carriage docks, it's docking on both sides evenly. So that's really it. That is the full assembly of this Aluminum Elite Studio Reformer. You can see we didn't need to use any tools. It comes basically fully assembled, and you can complete this process in 10 minutes or less.